It all started like any other segment of The View, the hosts engaging in their usual back and forth before welcoming their special guest. When Tom Hardy appeared on stage, the audience erupted into cheers. Dressed in his signature understated style of black tee under a sleek jacket, he exuded cool confidence. Joy Behar greeted him warmly at first, joking about his intimidating movie roles and asking whether he was as intense in real life. Tom laughed politely and responded with charm, but there was a quiet tension brewing under the surface. Within minutes, Joy brought up politics, a notoriously sensitive subject on the show. She asked Tom about his views on celebrity involvement in global causes, suggesting that actors sometimes talk big but act small. Tom's smile faded slightly and he replied, "I think that's a bit unfair. People use the platforms they have. Not everyone wants to broadcast their good deeds." Joy nodded, but then leaned in with another pointed question. "So do you think your silence on major issues makes you complicit?" The studio grew noticeably quieter, the audience unsure whether this was a serious moment or part of their usual provocative style. Tom took a deep breath and answered calmly, "I don't believe in shouting over people to make a point. I do my part quietly, with intention." Joy smirked and replied, "But isn't staying silent a privilege? You can afford not to speak because you won't face the consequences others do." That seemed to strike a nerve. Tom leaned forward, placing his hands together. "It's an assumption, and frankly, it's insulting. You don't know what I do behind the scenes?" Sarah N. tried to intervene with a lighthearted comment to ease the moment, but Joy pushed further. "We're just asking questions, Tom. Isn't that what you do in interviews to get to the heart of the matter?" Tom's expression turned stern. There's a difference between getting to the heart of the matter and painting someone into a corner for drama. The tension became undeniable, and Whoopi Goldberg, seated at the end of the panel, tried to change the subject to Tom's latest film, but the air was already heavy. Yes. The exchange had stopped being about the film or global causes. It had become personal, rather than diffusing the situation. Whoopi's attempt at redirection was quickly derailed when Joy said, "I just think if you have a voice like yours and a fan base that listens, you owe it to use it." Tom looked her directly in the eyes. "I owe nothing to people who expect me to perform activism like it's theater." That comment got a strong reaction from the audience, some clapping, others murmuring. Joy leaned back in her chair clearly, agitated. That's quite a defensive posture for someone who claims to care. Tom replied evenly, "And that's quite an accusation from someone who doesn't know me." The heat between them was palpable now. The other co-hosts sat in awkward silence, unsure whether to intervene or let it play out. Joy folded her arms and said, "Well, you're on The View, Tom. If you came here thinking we'd avoid the tough stuff, you picked the wrong table." Tom nodded slowly. "No, I picked the wrong host." The crowd gasped audibly. Ouch. Joy opened her mouth to respond, but Tom raised a hand. "Actually, never mind. I think I'm done here." The studio went silent for a moment as Tom began to unclip his microphone. Whoopi leaned in quickly, saying, "Come on now, let's not make this something it doesn't have to be." But Tom had already stood up. "With all due respect, I came here in good faith. I was ready to talk about my work, my process, my journey. I wasn't expecting to be interrogated like a politician on trial." Joy fired back, "That's what we do. This show is about opinions." Tom shook his head, his voice still measured, but sharp. "There's a way to challenge someone without making it personal. What you did. That wasn't a question, that was a judgment." The audience was split. Some clapped. Sonny Hostin attempted to lighten the mood, asking, "Is there anything you want to say to your fans before you go?" Tom looked at her with a soft expression and said, "I love them. That's why I'm careful with my words. I'm not here to provoke, I'm here to inspire." With that, he walked off the set, leaving the panel in stunned silence. The cameras quickly cut to commercial, backstage. Sources later claimed that producers scrambled to decide whether to continue the episode or pre-record a new segment. Joy Behar was visibly frustrated, caught muttering under her breath as the crew tried to reset. When the show resumed, Whoopi opened the floor with a carefully worded statement, sometimes. These conversations go places we don't expect. That's part of live television. Joy didn't apologize or soften her tone. Instead, she remarked, if he can't handle a few tough questions, maybe he should stick to scripts. That comment sparked outrage online within minutes. Clips of the altercation flooded social media. Fans of Tom Hardy rallied behind him, accusing The View of being hostile and toxic. The hashtag Justice for Tom began trending, and thousands of users praised him for maintaining composure under fire. Meanwhile, critics of the show called for a formal apology, arguing that ambushing a guest with moral grandstanding was unprofessional. The backlash wasn't limited to just viewers. Several celebrities chimed in on X and Instagram, saying they wouldn't appear on The View until things changed. By the end of the day, ABC was under pressure to issue a statement. The network tried to walk a tightrope, saying, "The View is a place for robust conversation, and we appreciate Mr. Hardy for sharing his perspective." But the vague wording did little to calm the storm. Tom Hardy himself remained quiet for nearly 24 hours before posting a short message on his official account. "Disagreement is fine. Disrespect is not." The comment was widely shared, with many praising him for keeping things classy. Media outlets dissected the confrontation in detail. Some outlets sided with Joy, framing her as holding celebrities accountable. Others emphasized that tone and delivery matter and that Joy's line of questioning crossed that line. Opinion columns began to surface, asking whether talk shows should change their format to encourage real dialogue instead of conflict. Analysts debated whether The View was pushing too far for ratings at the expense of guest dignity. Meanwhile, Tom went on to promote his film through other platforms, all of which welcomed him with respect and admiration. In the days that followed, a shift began to occur on The View. Perhaps recognizing the damage done, the hosts adopted a noticeably more respectful tone with subsequent guests. Producers reportedly introduced new guidelines for interview conduct, reminding everyone involved that the guest's dignity should remain intact. Still, Joy refused to issue a personal apology. In one episode later that week, she even joked, "At least I didn't wrestle him to the floor, though I could have taken him." The line was met with laughter from some, but others in the audience were noticeably silent. Social media continued buzzing, and even late-night comedians referenced the incident in their monologues. Stephen Colbert quipped, "Tom Hardy doesn't need to play a tough guy. He just walked through The View and made it out alive." Meanwhile, Tom gained newfound respect among fans who admired not just his acting talent, but his calm defiance of disrespect. Requests for him to appear on more thoughtful platforms increased, and his next few interviews went viral for all the right reasons. Though the initial drama faded from headlines after a week, its ripple effects endured. The View experienced a slight dip in ratings for several episodes, and some longtime viewers expressed disappointment in the show's tone. Fan petitions circulated online calling for changes in hosting style, thousands signing to encourage less confrontation and more conversation. ABC quietly acknowledged the feedback and began reconsidering the show's approach, though nothing official was announced. Meanwhile, Tom Hardy's reputation remained untarnished. If anything, the incident amplified public appreciation for his values and character. He was later honored at a film festival where the presenter remarked, "In a world of noise, Tom chose grace." That line earned a standing ovation. What had begun as a fiery exchange on daytime television ended up becoming a lesson in dignity and boundary setting. For younger fans especially, Tom's response became a template for how to handle pressure without compromising self-respect. As time passed, Tom never mentioned Joy Behar again. In interviews, when asked indirectly about controversial media experiences, he smiled and simply said, "I know who I am. That's enough." His focus remained on his craft, acting, producing, and working behind the scenes to mentor rising talent. Meanwhile, The View continued with its usual mix of hot topics and heated debates. But the memory of the Tom Hardy incident lingered. Media schools even began using clips of the argument in classes on ethics, in journalism, and broadcasting. For a moment in time, the debate became a cultural touchpoint. It forced viewers to consider what we expect from celebrities, how we engage in difficult conversations, and whether confrontation should always be the goal talk shows thrive on. Moments that go viral, this one had gone deeper. It revealed something essential about the power of restraint and the courage it takes to walk away instead of exploding in the grand scheme of Hollywood controversies. What happened between Tom Hardy and Joy Behar on The View may seem minor, but its impact told a bigger story, reminded audiences that even in the most public settings, boundaries matter, that civility is not weakness, and that not every disagreement needs to be turned into entertainment. Tom Hardy didn't